Hello. Sir John Smith founded the Landmark Trust in 1965, in large part because he was concerned at the wholesale demolition of the simple, unpretentious, modest architecture of the buildings associated with the canal system, a network that had played such an important role in laying the foundation of Britain's Industrial Revolution, but had become commercially unviable by the mid-20th century. The former lockkeeper's cottage at Stoke Pound, near Bromsgrove in Worcestershire, on the Worcester and Birmingham Canal, is a good example of such a property, each individually designed for its site and now increasingly rare. Gas Street Basin, in the heart of Birmingham, was an inland port. It's where the Birmingham Canal and the Worcester and Birmingham Canal met, although the two waterways were initially separated by a barrier known as the Worcester Bar to prevent water sharing. This meant goods had to be physically carried across the barrier for transshipment. A first stage of the Worcester and Birmingham Canal, constructed to provide a shorter link between Birmingham and the River Severn, was completed from the basin at Gas Street as far as Selly in 1795. The full route became operational in 1815, and after considerable lobbying, a lock was installed in the Worcester Bar, allowing boats to navigate between the two canals. Lock Cottage was built soon after completion of the canal and has been subsequently extended. It sits at the foot of the Tardebigge Flight of 30 locks that raise the waterway 220 feet in 2¼ miles, the longest flight of narrow locks in Britain. The top lock replaced an experimental boat lift, which explains its unusually high 11 feet rise. Most lockkeepers led solitary lives. In his book Narrowboat, published in 1944, continuously in print ever since, and credited with reviving interest in our canals, Tom Rolt, who moored his narrowboat at Tardebigge, wrote, "Their cottages are often remote from villages or even roads, so they welcome a gossip with the crew of a passing boat. Their job is not as easy as it would appear, for their responsibility is not confined to the lock by their cottage, but extends over some miles of canal, which may include several more locks. As the prosperity of the canals sinks into eclipse, so each man's length grows longer and longer, intermediate lock cottages being either let to agricultural labourers or left to fall into ruin. In addition to maintaining the locks in working order, there are hedges to be trimmed and banks to be mown, while the towing path must be kept in a reasonable state of repair. It is also the lockkeeper's task to maintain a more or less constant level of water in the pounds under his charge by adjusting the sluices which govern the flow of water from feeders and outfalls. Any minor leaks which may develop in the banks must be stopped with clay puddle before they assume serious proportions, and it is his duty to notify the maintenance department of any major repairs which may become necessary or of sections which may require dredging. It was Tom Rolt, along with Robert Aikman, who established the Inland Waterways Association in 1946. Lockkeepers were reasonably well paid by the standards of the day. In the early days of the Worcester and Birmingham Canal, in addition to being provided with a cottage, keepers were paid 15 shillings a week and received an allowance for coal and candles. From the 1840s, the canal network faced increasing competition from the railway. Trade slowly declined. Commercial traffic on the Worcester and Birmingham Canal finally ceased in 1961. The revitalisation of our canal system began in earnest in the 1970s and has continued to grow since, the Worcester and Birmingham Canal now forming part of the populous Stourport Ring. One lock below Top Lock on the Tardebigge Flight is the former engine house, where a steam-powered Newcomen and Watt beam engine once pumped water into a pound from a reservoir some 50 feet below. After spending some time as a public house, in 2012 it was converted into apartments. The last lockkeeper to live at Stoke Pound, Dick Warner, died in 1966. His widow Ruth stayed on in the cottage until 1986. When the Landmark Trust acquired Lock Cottage 5 years later, there was no running water, no road access, and substantial repairs including new foundations were required. It's now fully restored, equipped with mod cons, with access for vehicles and available as a holiday let. Gas Street Basin has been fully redeveloped. Many of the surrounding warehouses and cottages have been refurbished, and there's a wide selection of coffee shops, cafes, bars and restaurants with views over the basin, now full of colourful narrowboats. Now next time I'm going to take a look at a castle fit for an archbishop. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.